All right. Hi guys, it's Ariana. Welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we're going to be reading some more scary stories. So instead of my wicked candle today, I actually do have a Christmas candle. So I have a hot cocos and cream candle from Bath & Body Works. It's just a single wick candle, but it smells like hot chocolate and it smells so freaking amazing. So I'm going to light it and get into the comfy, cozy kind of mood, and it's lit and it smells amazing. I do have my wicked candle here, but we're gonna light the hot chocolate one because it's my absolute favorite candle from Bath & Body Works. If you haven't smelled it, highly recommend going to Bath & Body Works and smelling it because it smells literally like hot chocolate. It's amazing. So I'm gonna pick up from where I left off in my last video in that email. So this is an email from one of my subscribers and they said, high school years. When I was in high school, all of my brothers were out of the house. My brother Marshall was in the Marines, so he was stationed in Japan, but his room was still set up how it was left when he left. I would have a few friends stay the night, and one night I had 3 of my friends staying over. One of them slept with me in my room, and the other 2 slept in my brother's room. Side note, before I was told what one of my friends saw, I had been hearing children giggling and running up and down the stairs. I was the youngest person in the house. The next morning, one of my friends that was in my brother's room came into my room and said, "Dude, you're not going to believe what I saw in the middle of the night." I just looked at her because I had a feeling what was coming. She told me she had seen a girl with long hair and a white dress standing at the foot of the bed. I was freaked out, and that's all that has been seen in that house. The last thing that I can remember in that house was my demon dream. This was my senior year of high school, which was when COVID hit. My best guy friend would come over all the time, but his parents were strict, so he'd have to sneak out when they were asleep, and I had to pick him up at a certain spot. In this dream, he and I were playing Xbox in my room and we were stopping at some point, so I was going to the bathroom. But I noticed something strange. The light from my room was not shining into the hallway. It just stopped at my door. So I looked at my friend and said, "Yeah, no, I'm grabbing my flashlight." Just as I had said that, I heard something fall out of the crawl space that goes underneath the stairs, which is right outside my room. Then I heard heavy breathing. I reluctantly shined my light into the hall, and what I saw was terrifying. I don't know if you've ever heard of the rake, but that's what it looked like. I quickly said nope and got under the covers. As I covered my head, I heard rapid footsteps coming into my room and they stopped right next to me and then more heavy breathing. I very slowly took the covers off of my head, and when I did, the thing very quickly brought its face to mine, and that's when I woke up and looked at the time. It was 3:33 in the morning. Creepy classroom dream in the house I'm in now. I was a beginning kindergarten teacher, and in my classroom, there's a storage closet that I get creepy vibes from. In my dream, I was talking to another adult. Mid-conversation, I could see from the corner of my eye the door slowly opening. The light in the closet is motion censored, but the light didn't come on. I felt coldness coming from it. The other adult didn't see the door open and didn't want to freak her out, so I continued on with the conversation. I then heard a voice, a very creepy, old-sounding voice singing, "I'll be home for Christmas," which was very strange considering Christmas is still a little whiles away. I woke up again at 3:33 in the morning, but this time I went back to sleep. I wasn't about to stay up to see anything in my room. Ghost light on in the hallway. This is the last one for now. I work an hour away from home, and since I have to be at the school at 7:30, I have to leave at 6:15. It's still dark at the time. Lately, I've been noticing a strange light when driving. It's always around the same spot, but never in the same place. I've seen it zoom across the highway. I've seen it stay in one place, but it never stays for very long. It's like it's shy or something. I think it's an orb because it's pretty big. So it's not a firefly or an animal for sure. Thank you for reading my stories. It really does mean a lot. I'm okay with my name being out there, so you can say my name. It's Ruby if you want to. Keep being spooky. Thank you so much, Ruby, for sending me your stories. Your stories were so good and so creepy, and I would have noped out of that fucking house. Holy crap. You are so brave for staying there because I would not have. The next one I'm going to read is another one from my emails. I've been watching your stories for a while, and I wanted to share some of mine. So this story starts around 4 years ago when we moved into this new house. It's a 1-story house that dates back to the 1990s. When we moved in, everything was normal, and it was a nice house that was cheaper than the last one we were renting, so we could save money to buy our own house instead of renting. For about the first 4 months, everything was normal. But one night, I woke up at about 3 a.m. and felt like I was being watched. So I looked around my room, and I didn't see anything, until I looked at my door, and I saw this all black figure. My door was almost closed, but not fully closed, and it was just looking through the crack of the door. So I sat up and looked at it, and then I just got up and chased it out of my room and then went back to sleep. How? I would not have gotten up and chased something out of my room. Fuck that. Oh my God. The next night I had this dream where I was in this place that was like Earth, but dark. I was being chased by the same thing I saw the night before in my dream, and it felt like it wanted to hurt me. and it chased me until my alarm woke me up for school, and I thought it was just a bad dream, so I ignored it. But every day I am in my room, it feels like someone is watching me or standing behind me, and every time I turn around, I don't see anything. Then I wake up to the same thing watching me, but it was not in the doorway. It was in my closet doorway with a huge smile, and it was just watching me. So I got up and I ran out of my room, and I slept on the couch for the rest of the night. Then stuff started happening in my closet. Like I would hear banging in my closet door at night, or even during the day. I could hear scratching on my own closet door at night. I would hear stuff falling down in my closet just to go in there for it to be perfectly fine. And nothing had fallen. And then in the morning, my light would be on, like something was in there and had turned on the light. And while that stuff was happening, other stuff started happening, like when I'm in the bathroom, the shower would turn on and I would hear footsteps in the attic. I asked my mom about it and she just said it was squirrels on our roof, and it sounds like something is creaking up there every step, but it's not like it's running. It's like it's trying to come down here from the attic ladder. I think this thing has been following my mom since she was a kid, because she used to live in a haunted house, and a lot worse stuff happened. When I'm home alone, I just hear stomping in the attic, and the laundry starts, and scratching on the closet door, and stuff being moved around. I want to know if anyone knows what this is, and how to get rid of it. Thank God we are moving out soon to buy our own house. There was more stuff, but it feels like something is standing right behind me, and I don't want to stay in my room by myself. Here's a picture of what it looks like, and I'll post the picture here. It kind of looks like the Momo creature, I guess. I'm not really familiar with the Momo creature, but I know that it was like a meme on the internet for the longest time, but that's how they described it. So thank you so much for sending me your story. That is so fucking creepy, and no, thank you at all. I would nope out of that house too. So I have another story from my email I want to read. I'm just trying to get through all of my emails because there are so many. And I appreciate it so much that you guys are sending me your stories. That is absolutely amazing. Hey, I came across your channel a few weeks ago, and I love the spooky stories and how much you interact with your fans. I have a few. Feel free to read them on your channel if you want, or just read one. I have an 8-year-old child, and at the time, they were 6. They weren't sleeping well at all during the night. They kept getting up and saying they were having nightmares, which, to be noted, isn't normal for them. Anyways, one morning, I decided to take a nap, and I was woken up by my child sighing and saying, "Go away. Speak to my mother." I opened my eyes and I saw this old lady at the end of the room facing us. She didn't say anything to me, but she looked very angry. I shouted at her and told her to go away and threw one of my pillows at her. Then I went back to sleep. Since that encounter, my child has been sleeping very well. I ended up falling asleep on the couch doing laundry one night. I brought the coffee table close to the couch and propped up my phone to watch a show. I ended up falling asleep watching Boy Meets World, but for some reason in the middle of the night, I woke up and on the other side of the coffee table, staring at me, was a little boy dressed in 1930s clothing. He was very disheveled. I immediately shoved the coffee table towards him, and he vanished. Lastly, back in 2020, I was in the basement putting something away when my child was in the kitchen putting away Lego. I turned to come upstairs, and I saw a little hand by the door. I thought it was my kid playing a game with me, but when I got upstairs, my golden retriever was staring at the stairs, going up to the living room on alert, and my child was nowhere to be seen. Once I got to the kitchen, I asked my child if they played a trick on me, and they said no. I stayed in the kitchen the whole time. I hope you enjoyed these stories, and at least one of them makes it onto your channel. Oh, thank you so much for sending them. They were really creepy, and oh my God, I'm curious if you're still experiencing things, because you said the last thing that you experienced was in 2020. I'm curious if you have more things that have happened. If you have any more, you can feel free to send them to me, because that's so fucking creepy, and oh my God, no thank you. I was about 9 or 10 when my parents bought a house in GA. Our family is from Florida, so I had my great aunt tour the house. She said that the house seemed cute and livable. We didn't have many other options, so we just gave the house seller an offer. We were getting used to the area, and we took walks around the neighborhood. We started talking with the neighbors and getting to know people. Made a friend in the area, and we pretty much hung out all the time. He was my only friend, so fast forward about 2 months in the house. I never really thought much of demons' existence. My parents never mentioned the so-called other side to us. My first experience took place in the living room. My friend and I were having a sleepover, and we were having fun until we heard scratching at the front door. We were dead silent, waiting for another noise. There were about 3 scratches at the door until I decided to see if it was the cat, but nothing was there. My friend looked at me with the most pale face a sick person could have. We ended up turning on the TV and falling asleep. One night, my mom was falling asleep, and she felt a tapping on her shoulder. She originally thought it was my little brother coming in to sleep with them. Then she opened her eyes to tell him to get out of bed, but when she opened her eyes, no one was there. The same thing happened to her, but something grabbed her ankle from under her bed. My experience takes place in my room. My room has a massive window next to my bed, so occasionally I peek out to spy on what my neighbor is doing at night. One night, my curtains were open, and I saw a shadow figure move across my window very quickly. During the daytime, when I was doing my homework, I heard a tapping on my window. It only happened 3 times. Most of the activity happens at night. I remember having my ass and arms grabbed during the night. We kept on hearing whispering and knocking. The closet was very iffy, and something seemed super off about it. This crap got so bad to the point where I started sleeping with my Bible. Soon enough, our church priest was involved. He gave us some advice, and he told us to burn some sage in the house. We confirmed that something was in the house and that we would refer to it as Lucas. The boy in the house never got targeted, so it just made the assumption that it liked picking on girls. We did what the priest said and started to burn sage. Nothing happened from that day on, and we moved out of the house and haven't gone back since. And that's all they said. So there was a little ghost boy that liked to pick on the girls, and that's really freaking creepy, and I don't like that. So those are some of my creepy stories that I have in my email. I have a couple more to read, but I'm going to jump over to Reddit because I also have some Reddit stories that I want to read that I found today in like the last couple of days. All 3 of my Reddit posts that I was going to read today that I messaged the authors from today were removed, so I don't know if they were just not posted in the right side of Reddit and like the Reddit mods removed them or something. I'm not sure, but I have a couple of other ones that I got permission from a couple of weeks ago. So this one's from the No Sleep section, and it's from the Reddit author Darksire1, and it's titled Santa Claus is Coming to Town. Everyone who lives or has lived in the small town of Springs knows about the events of the early years of the 2000s. Nobody talks about it as not to bring back the trauma for those who were directly involved, but everyone knows. Everyone in Springs knows about Santa Claus. No, not the red-cheeked, round, jolly man from the movies and stories. Not that Santa Claus. The Santa Claus who brutally murdered 6 children and attempted to murder a 7th. The first year, it was December 25th, 2002. A child was discovered missing the morning of Christmas, with a small gift-wrapped box on his bed. Inside, the police found a small, simple Christmas card that read, "Santa Claus is coming to town," with nothing else written on it. At first, no one really made a big deal about it. It was just some kid who had run away and left a strange note. Then it happened again. 2003, Christmas Day. Another child goes missing, with the same package and same note on their bed in the morning. This is when people began to get worried, and the search got serious. Springs isn't a large town. It was on a main road that goes into and out of town, and it's surrounded by a forest. Any of the children could be anywhere in the huge mass of trees, so obviously, that was where the search was mainly focused. But absolutely nothing showed up. There was no sign of them. When Christmas came around the next year, many children slept with their parents. Many people were scared that their child would be next. That year, 2004, not 1, but 2 children vanished. People panicked and the search efforts tripled. People from nearby towns came over just to help. But it didn't matter. No one found them. Nobody found any sign of any of the children. This went on for 2 more years. Each year, at Christmas, a child would vanish without a trace. A small package with a store-bought card inside sitting on their bed. People would search for a few months before realizing that they wouldn't find anything. Police began patrolling the streets during the holiday season in Springs. They would watch the houses just to make sure some psychopath wasn't breaking into the children's rooms. But that didn't help. Every year, someone disappeared just the same. Then came Christmas 2007. I was lying in my bed, staring up at the ceiling, when I heard something from outside my room. Thump, thump, thump. Footsteps getting closer and closer. I began to panic, realizing what was happening. In my fear and panic, I completely froze. I didn't know what to do. I was only 10 at the time. I had no idea what I was supposed to do in the situation. The kids in my school had already been spreading rumors about what the guy actually was. A ghost, a demon, a psychopath. The latter is what everyone believed. The footsteps were right outside my door. My heart was pounding in my chest so hard I felt as if it would burst out. Slowly, ever so slowly, my bedroom door creaked open. A shadow crossed over a dim light coming in the hall, and the man stepped into my room. Then, in one swift motion, the man took 2 steps toward me and covered my mouth with a cloth. After a second, everything went completely dark and completely silent. I woke up in almost complete darkness. There was a stench all around me, the stench that I would only later realize was the smell of death and decay. A single window across the room from me let a few rays of dim moonlight shine through the room. The small amount of light glistened off the meat hooks attached to the ceiling, from which hung shapes which I could barely make out the edges of. My arms and my legs were tied together, but I managed to use a nearby crate to stand up. My eyes were beginning to adjust in the dark, allowing me to make out a metal door nearby with a small weird window at the top. I sat there in the dark for what seemed like hours, but was probably only a few minutes. with no sound other than my own heavy breathing. Eventually, I managed to tear the ropes holding me using the edges of the wooden crate. Then there was a soft orange glow from the window on the metal door as light behind it turned on. There was a soft click as the lock opened, and a metallic creaking and scraping sound as the door opened. A man's shadow, which wore a Santa hat, spread across the room as light allowed me to see the true horror of the room I was in. All around me were chunks of meat, but not animal meat. I recognized a head sitting on the floor only a few feet away from where I had been standing, for God knows how long. It was Susan, one of the girls who had gone missing. There was a pool of dried blood all around dismembered heads, and I immediately had to hold back the urge to throw up. The man wearing a Santa hat and red suit walked into the room and looked around. I held my breath, hoping he wouldn't see me. But then I had an idea. The door was still open. The crate that was behind me was only a few feet from the door. The man was currently facing away from both me and the door. I sprinted for the door without thinking. I was out into the open before the man turned and yelled at me. I didn't hear what he said because my heart was still beating so loud it drowned out everything but my breathing. I ran and ran through the woods, my legs burning, but I kept running. As the sun was beginning to rise over the trees, I reached the main road, which I recognized was the road that led in and out of Sparings. Around noon, I made it back to the house. I cried and cried the entire way back and didn't stop crying until the tear ducts were empty. Through my sobs, I managed to get out what had happened. My dad called the police while my mom comforted and hugged me. When the police arrived, I recounted my story again, this time slightly more calm. They left to where I said I thought the building was. The next day, the news story had a story about it. My mom didn't let me see it at the time, but I've recently searched up the article and read it. Apparently, the building was an abandoned butcher shop. Inside were the mutilated corpses of every single kid who had disappeared, some so rotten they could only be identified through their teeth. But that wasn't the worst part. In addition to that, all of the bodies had evidence of being eaten. Bite marks, flesh missing. After I ran, the man must have left. There was no sign of him anywhere near the building. That's what scares me the most now. He could be anybody. No one knew who he was. Maybe no one ever will. He could be in your mall, just waiting, biding his time. You might know him. You might be friends with a cannibalistic psychopath. There's no way to know, unless you just wait until Christmas Day. Then you'll know, just like all of us knew all those years ago. And that's how they ended the story. So that's a fucking creepy story. So I'm obviously gonna put a trigger warning at the beginning of the video because that one isn't really like a paranormal story. It's more of just like a psychopath story, like murdering people, but that's absolutely terrifying. And oh my God, that's where I'm going to end this video here because that one gave me absolutely just the heebie-jeebies and I don't want to read anymore, so I'm good. But thank you so much for watching this video. If you guys did enjoy this video, please make sure to give it a big thumbs up. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below for more content like this, and I will see you guys at the next video. Bye.